Welcome to Gail's Garden, Herbs and More. I was watching the Paige family Homestead, and they have an open collaboration on dehydrating so people can learn. And that's interesting because I just had a subscriber ask me to please do a video on how I dehydrate my herbs. So folks, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then we'll see about getting that on that playlist from the Paige family Homestead. Because she said it was an open anyone that wanted to do it. So I thought, well, I'll just add mine to it. Okay, now these trays are from an old dehydrator that the main part of the dehydrator I don't have anymore. But I kept the trays because a lot of my herbs just don't dehydrate. And I keep this top tray to kind of help keep dust and bugs and chickens and everything like that little girl over there out of it. These are nasturtium leaves, and they are finely dry. But you see, they seem like they would be thicker and tougher, but they're really not. And to put them in the regular dehydrator with heat, it just seems to really kill a lot of it. Now, some of my heavier stuff like fruits are good in my other dehydrator, which I will show you in a few minutes. And maybe even the calendula flowers, which I've got some growing right there, and I'm leaving some to make seed. But yeah, just the sun itself has dried these calendula, although I have done those in my regular dehydrator. But anything I can do out here at a slower, gentler heat and way, although I don't know how gentle. The other day it was around in the 90, early upper 90s, or no, around 90, I think, upper 80s. But anyway, this is much gentler. I'm going to take these in, and this is one way that I do dry some of my herbs. Okay, now this is my other dehydrator. There are a lot of different types, and I wasn't sure. My last one, as you can see from those old trays, was a little round one. This one cost a little bit more, not too much more. I think this one was around $100. Whereas you can get those little round trays. I think I got that when I lived in Kentucky for around $20. But you just open it up, and you've got your trays. There's a drip pan down below. You've got your trays here, and you lay out. Usually I'm more likely to use this for fruit or some of my stouter herbs. Or like my calendulas don't do well in the heat of the summer. So sometimes it's too cool outside and not enough sun, or maybe too much rain because the humidity will burn it from being able to do it outside. That's when I take those calendula flowers and put in here and dehydrate them in here. I can do that with those. The leaves, I can, but I don't really like to do them here. And it's been unusually warm, but it's worked out good for dehydrating my nasturtium leaves. So, yeah, you can get something like this, and you just set the time and the temperature. This one, I think, starts at 95 and goes to 151 or something like that. But even setting it at a lower temp, it takes forever. And I don't know. It just doesn't seem to do as well as outside on a lot of my herbs. Now, something like rosemary, it's a little stouter. I might dry in here, but still, I use the lower heats. You can raise it or lower it. There's different types of dehydrators. You can go online and compare some of them, look at them, see what you're looking for. But this one seems to be pretty good. But still, I use my outside a lot. Okay, now this is just a basket hanging from the ceiling that I keep my onions and stuff in. These, I don't want to handle those too much. Those are ghost peppers, really hot. And then I have some other like chili peppers and different things. I just ran a thread through them and tied them around my basket. They were hanging down some, but since they've dried, I've kind of flipped them up here. Now, that's another way you can dry, because peppers may be a food, but they're also an herb, considered an herb. And that might be another way, because I was doing that during the rainy season. Actually, I had some extra ones, and I just put the thread to them and hung them up on here, and they dried really well. I'm going to take those and grind them up and use them. I might save. I have quite a few for my cooking if I'm going to use And I also already have enough for my little thing of salve that I'm going to make for us for a pain salve. But I'm going to grind these up and put them around my plants. They help keep the bugs and critters, like little mice and stuff, away. That's another way you can dry herbs, is just putting a thread through them and hang them up. Okay, now let me talk a little bit more. There's different ways to, when you once get it dry, there's different things that you can do with your stuff. Another thing, some people may not consider this in the herb realm, but I do. And this is organic orange peel, which I grind up once I dry the herb peels. And you can use those in your bigger your main dehydrator, like I was showing you a minute ago. And then I grind it up in my little bullet, or whatever you have. It's like a coffee grinder or whatever. And that's great for putting in teas and stuff. This here is hot banana peppers. I dried them, and I also ground them up pretty good, because you don't want to, I use that in some soups and stuff like that. And you don't want to bite into a big piece of it. A little hot on the tongue. So I make it into a powder as well. And the calendula flowers that I was talking about and showed you, I keep some of them, the whole flower head, because I use the whole thing in making my calendula oil. But some of the flowers I actually, after I've dried it and everything, and also I wanted to say, when you dry your calendula flowers, don't put a regular lid. This is like a piece of cheesecloth, not just the cheap store-bought kind, because their holes are so big the bugs can crawl right through. I guess if it was a determined bug, they would get in this anyway, but it's a little bit thinner, keeps more dust out and stuff like that. And I just put a rubber band. You can put the ring from a canning jar. You could put that on it too, because you need the air, especially with these full heads, because I've had them mold on me, because sometimes the green part of the flower head holds a little more moisture and it might cause it to mold. But if you have a good airflow, they don't tend to mold that way. So that's how you're, after you dry your flower, one way to keep it. Now I'll take some of the flowers and I will pull off the individual petals. If you'll notice, I have a lid on this, because the petals dry really well and I don't have a problem with them molding. So you can put the actual flower petals with the lid, and that's for better keeping. I use this for my all-purpose seasoning and cooking, because I'll throw in some of these in some of my soups and stews and in different things. So that's what I do with that, one way to do that. Now, when I am saving my herbs, I like to keep them as whole as possible. Some of them, like my plantain and stuff, I may break them up a little bit to get them in the jar, but I keep the leaf pretty much there. I'm going to do the same thing with my nasturtium leaves. I can put them kind of whole, but I have huge nasturtium leaves, so I will probably break them a little bit to get them in the jar. There, if you can hear it. Hear that? They're very crispy and dry, but they may be crispy and dry, but look how green that is. That is crispy and dry, but still green. That's a good sign that you still have all your vitamins and minerals and the beneficial oils, the essential oils that are still in the plant. Now, when you dry them, you lose some of that, but I'm more likely to have it when it's a good color like that. You can tell if you buy your herbs, usually they're not as green. Some places they are. Sometimes you get a good batch and they're really well done and fresh. So that's something that you want to keep in mind when drying your herbs too, is the least amount of heat, but enough to get them dry. And I don't always grind them all up into powder, because they will get bad quicker. Not really bad, but lose their potency quicker that way. But if you keep them in the leaf form, they stay a little bit better for you, the color and all of that. So just a few quick tips on drying herbs, and I hope this helps. If you have any questions, just let me know. If there's anything else I can talk about on it, maybe I didn't think about. Sometimes you just do things automatically and you don't even think about it. So there may be something I didn't cover. Just ask. I hope this helps, and we'll catch y'all later. Bye.